Welcome to Israeli Frenemies right here on ILTV, broadcast right out of Tel Aviv. We get the right and left together to bash it up about the most heated subjects of the week. And here with my co-host, my frenemy, my friend, Uri Zaki.
Love you, man. Love you.
How you doing? How's your week?
I'm good. It was good. We had a holiday this week, so it's always good. And it's funny to come back after 2 days. But it's good,
Absolutely. Well, let's get right to it. We got a lot of hot topics to talk about. Let's get right to it.
Let's do it. So Ari, I was wondering whether you're holding your breath because on the time we're shooting this program, Donald Trump has to sign a waiver.
Doesn't have to. He has to decide.
Well, if he wants to prevent the American embassy to move from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem because of the congressional legislation from 1995, he has to sign the decree today. So far, we don't know about him signing it.
He doesn't have to sign the decree. If he signs the decree, then it doesn't move.
Right.
He doesn't have to sign anything. If he doesn't sign
anything, then tomorrow, the embassy, the process of moving the embassy will have to start, according to American legislation, which was each president since, I believe it was Bill Clinton, including Bush, Obama, always signed every half a year a waiver.
So I'm not holding my breath, but I'll say the following. Look, the move of the embassy to Jerusalem, I hope he does it. Am I holding my breath? No, because I'm not holding my breath for any American president. But the bigger problem is the reason it should be moved is because Jerusalem, according to I think both of us, is the capital of the state of Israel. And according to American law, the embassy should be in the capital. Whether Trump does it or not, I'll be very happy if he does, and I'll be very disappointed if he doesn't. But I want to turn internal a little bit. In other words, the fact that we're not really demanding it, to me that bothers me. The fact, for example, this morning, there were 7 Jews who were arrested for praying on the Temple Mount. That bothers me. More than Trump moving the embassy to Jerusalem or not, I think that we have to turn inside first. In other words, we have to demand of ourselves to really treat Jerusalem as a capital city. There's dangers and we have enemies, but again, to have Jews arrested for praying on our holiest spot, anywhere else in the world that would happen, that would be called anti-Semitism. And I'm not calling it that.
Let's not go there. There are reasons. Look, Ari, I also think that eventually, not only the U.S. Embassy, but all embassies should be in Jerusalem, as you say, in West Jerusalem. It's our capital.
Well,
I believe
that
it's. I think it's not surprising that even this most unexpected president, who makes a big deal of his election promises, is not rushing to move the embassy to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is at the heart of the conflict. Moving the embassy right now, again, I'm all for it, but moving the embassy right now would necessarily create a lot of turmoil within the Arab world and specifically with the Palestinians. On the other hand, if we will go to a negotiation with the Palestinians, which Donald Trump is obligated to, according to what he's talking. Well, he says he obligated himself, right? It's one of his most common statements, both before and after the elections, something that is not typical for him, kind of stability that is lacking his presidency. I believe that we can have, for the first time, not only the U.S. and not only Congress passing legislation, but all countries that we're in diplomatic ties right now, and not only them. Also, I believe that post a peace treaty with the Palestinians, we will see a Saudi embassy in West Jerusalem. We'll see a Iraqi embassy in Jerusalem.
So
I believe it's in our best interest to promote that, and we can make really Jerusalem the city of peace.
Okay, so let's just bring it down a level from fantasy a little bit. First of all, East and West Jerusalem, just so you understand the terminology, that was created when Jordan was ruling Jerusalem, and it was an apartheid word. In other words, Jews were prohibited from going to the old city. That's when East Jerusalem was created. To say that,
let me finish
countries.
Let me finish the sentence.
Jordan created that when they put a wall up in Jerusalem. To say that that is a solution for peace, that bringing back that wall and splitting up...
No, God forbid.
Hold on. Even calling it East Jerusalem, you're bringing back terminology from when the Jordanian Arabs had control and would not give freedom to Jews. I don't believe in that terminology at all, number one. Number two, I don't think Jerusalem is the core of the issue at all, because the Palestinians, the Arabs, the Muslims, whatever word you want to use, it was never an Arab capital. It was never Islamic holy city.
We're going back to
the
debate.
I just
Our
want to
viewers,
hold on.
I think,
Uri, one second. Let me just finish my sentence. Again, listen to me.
You can't say it's not holy for the Muslims.
Let me finish
you
my
just can't say that.
Let me finish my sentence for a second. I'm not saying it. I will be happy, like I said before, anything that I say to raise a Palestinian flag if you can show me at any point in time in history that
Look,
Jerusalem.
when I showed you facts of how mistreated the Palestinian residents of Jerusalem under Israeli control, you said it's fake news.
We're talking about right now, again. So welcome back to Frenemies. One of the hot topics this week was Miri Regev, the Minister of Culture, was withholding funding to one of the biggest, the
most important
cultural and the theater festivities that were going on in Israel. And the reason she did that was because several other plays, or one of the plays, had nudity within the play. And she said that it goes against Israel as the Jewish democratic state. Now, the truth of the matter is someone who was born and raised in the United States of America, there is much more censorship in America than there is in Israel. There's no cursing on the radio in America. There's absolutely no nudity on TV in America. And there's ratings also in movies and plays as well in Israel. Again, whether they want to go nude on stage or not is completely their business. I'm not going to get involved in that. But if it's talking about state funding and we have a certain level to say Jewish democracy, I think nudity, let's just call it as nudity in a play, pornography, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, come on. Okay, so hold
nudity?
on.
What, nudity in a play?
Nudity is not pornography.
Why
With all
not?
due
What is
respect.
it?
We're talking about the Israel Festival, the most prestigious live performance festival in Israel. We're talking about nothing resembles even pornography. We're talking about arts, artistic.
Pornography says they're art.
It's not pornography. Come on, Ari. You're talking about things that are irrelevant to the issue.
If it was a movie,
we're talking about theater.
If it was a movie,
about
rated
theater,
X?
it would never be pornography. There's nudity in movies, and not all nudity in movies means it's pornography. Perhaps where you come from in the jihadic mindset.
What movie is there full pornography? That's not called
It's
rated
not
X.
full pornography. It's nudity on stage. It's part of theater in modern theater. It's part of it. And the fact that Miri Regev, who started off by trying to censor artistic shows and plays and movies because they weren't nationalistic enough for her.
No.
Excuse me.
They were
now
against
she's
the state of
going
Israel.
to the core of the freedom of expression, the freedom of creation, the freedom of. We're talking about plays, two plays that have nudity there. Both one from Spain, the other one is local, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Both of very honorable and successful theater makers and directors, and I think that's another stage in the slippery slope that the Netanyahu government, and specifically Miri Regev, goes against the freedom of expression in Israel, and I think all of us, and I would expect you to unite against this coercion.
I'll explain why I'm not uniting. I'll say it again. In the world, if that was put on the silver screen, if that was in a movie, it would be rated X. That is pornography.
But
it's not
for kids.
But it's not
for kids. Kids don't come there.
Hold on.
It's the Israel Festival.
Stop. I agree. Thank you. I agree. Pornography is not for kids.
It's not pornography. Come on, Ari. You're shaming yourself by saying that. Not every nudity is pornography. Come on.
Let me finish it. If this was on the movie screen, it would be rated X.
It will be rated R. And it's okay because it's R in the theater as well.
There's no total nudity in a rated R movie. There's certain parts that is rated X. Now again, I'm not saying that they can't have these shows. We're not talking about
the shows in the Israel theater as pornography is just complete craziness.
But Miri Regev never said that you can't have the shows.
The Israel Festival.
She's saying I'm not going to have the state pay for those shows.
The Israel Festival is the #1 festival in Israel. It has it can't run without
Of course, it's
state funding.
25% funding only
It
from the
can't
state.
run without state funding, and no minister before her, no matter what, ever thought of trying to impose their own beliefs. She shares, I guess,
democracy.
shares
That's
your
democracy.
dark
Uri,
views.
that's
I'm sorry.
democracy.
Of any nudity is pornography.
I didn't say
That's
any nudity.
completely
Don't
crazy.
put words in my mouth. I didn't say any nudity. I said total nudity. Number one.
Total nudity
Number
is
two,
pornography?
Uri, that's democracy.
I can't believe. I don't believe
What
you
is
think
the
so.
problem? If I was on a movie screen, would it be rated X or not?
I don't know what the
Because
rating
rated
would
X
be.
is pornography.
No,
No,
I don't
but
care what it
here's the
would be
thing.
rated. I
She's
don't
not-
know what it would be rated.
Wait,
It's
one
theater.
second.
It's the freedom of
I
creation.
agree with you, and therefore go see it. I have no problem with you going to see it, but I don't have to pay my tax money to it.
You know how much taxes I pay for where you live?
And when
So we're back, and again with Miri Regev as an issue.
you.
With us today is Dr. Evan Cohen, the chair of the LGBT group in the Likud party. Nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
And we're going to talk about the LGBT group in the Likud party appealed to the Minister of Culture, Miri Regev. She's not a doctor, by the way. But she's the Minister of Culture, as we said before, in a demand, a strange demand for someone like me, I would say, to stop funding the LGBT film festival that's going on right now in Tel Aviv. And I should add that is facing a major attack by the BDS movement, and 5 of the movie makers who were supposed to participate in that festival canceled because of BDS, because they're against, they find this festival to be pro-Israel, and they canceled, and you're asking the same thing from the minister of the Likud.
So Evan, before you go, I'm sorry. I want to actually defend you for a second.
Hold on, let him talk.
Even before, because I know
We have to
one
get the
second.
facts straight.
Let him talk, and then you can add.
Okay, but we first have to get a few of the facts straight. We didn't request that they withdraw funding from the festival.
Okay.
What we requested was that they withdraw the movies from the festival. We said that if somebody supports BDS, we don't want their movies in a festival funded by the Israeli government. And we said that if they refuse to withdraw the movies, then we don't see why the state of Israel should fund this festival. Now, I'm leaving the ideological point of view at the door at the moment, that I believe that art and culture should not be funded at all by the state.
Really?
Because the moment that state funds art, state has a right to intervene, and I want the art to be free. So I don't think that the state should intervene, regardless of whether the Minister of Culture is Miri Regev or Stav Shafir. I don't think the state should intervene with content. On the other hand, if you have at the head of the hierarchy a minister who is political, they have every right to intervene with content. So make up your minds. We believe that these films should not be in the festival, especially since the 5 directors that you mentioned actually said that they were withdrawing from the festival because the festival was supported by the Israeli government, not because it was in Israel. So if they don't want to be in the festival because it's supported by the Israeli government, and we don't want them to be there because they oppose Israel, I don't see what the problem is. Withdraw the movies, end of story.
Well, the problem, I'll tell you, the problem is like this, and this is what happened before. I don't want to say Uri, God forbid, but the left had this bombastic kind of like, we're going to tell you what's going on, and oh, it's it. And they like to put things, shove things together and make a picture that doesn't really exist. So you saying we don't want movies that are anti-Israel and BDS promoting to be in the festivities, right? And BDS, the same people they're showing the movies are actually saying we're not coming, right? Well, the left go, oh, you're two together. And it's just, it's ridiculous.
You don't need to answer because Ari is answering for you.
No, but I also want to correct slightly factually what's going from what Ari said as well. The movies themselves are not anti-Israel. They're LGBT movies which have nothing to do necessarily with Israel. But the directors of the movies, and these are the people who are on the stages in Berlin and in Paris and in London and New York, spoke out against Israel. And I don't see why we should have their movies in our festival, especially since showing their movies in our festival supports them financially with my tax dollars or shekels.
But you do understand that canceling 5 of the films that are the heart of this festival, I believe the most important films, 2 of them are part of those 5, will basically say that the festival will not run for real. And on the other hand, and I'll add that, don't you think that it's actually a victory, even if those filmmakers speak about Israel, the fact that we do have here a gay LGBT film festival, and we ignore those from the BDS, and what you're trying to do will, or even if you come with the best intentions, you'll end up canceling the festival. Do you believe it?
Okay, first of all, I think that the people who organized the festival should have taken more care in the selection of films. If we have BDS supporters
But
on
you
there,
said the films are okay.
but they know who these people who created the films are, they should have been more careful. I believe, I honestly believe, I do not know personally who the people were who elected the specific films here. I honestly believe that some of them obviously support the agenda, and therefore they want these movies in the film festival. That's what I believe. I have nothing to show me the contrary. I mean, they haven't spoken out specifically against these directors of the movies. Had they done that, that would have been different.
By the way, they did. They said that boycotting.
They said we are sorry. They said we are sorry that they're not here.
Boycotting the film festival, which is a symbol of freedom in Israel, and we're part of a struggle here. And I think sometimes you and I will be in the same place vis-a-vis Ari. I'm not sure. I hope so.
I'm sure you would, but that's exactly the point.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking
and by
about
doing that, you are not helping Israel's stand. You're just you're helping those who are trying to boycott Israel.
Okay, I think that what I'm taking an ideological stand here, that the state should not support events which are vocally against the state, or which include people who are against the state.
The directors said that they don't want to come to Israel because that helps legitimize Israel's policy in the
because the
West
Israeli
Bank.
government supports the festival. That's what they
Right,
said.
because
so the Israeli government should not
is
support the
responsible
festival.
for the occupation. That's their belief. By
Okay.
the way, you can't foresee that. It's unfortunately it's a growing trend, both with artists, singers, groups, and you can't say as long as the film itself. I mean,
It's a tiny trend, by the way.
I'm by the way for government funding of art without the government having any possibility of preventing anything. I think it's not the job of politicians to become these censors with scissors. Okay, so
I agree that the government should not be censors with scissors, as you say. On the other hand, we have elections, and if we elect a government, we want the government to promote a certain policy. There's no reason why the government should pay without having some influence on the policy.
What do you think about Miri Regev not having nudity in the Israel festival in Jerusalem?
Once again, I think I'm not for or against nudity. I'm not the Minister of Culture. I'm not for or against nudity. I think Miri Regev should not influence what's going on in the Israeli film festival, in the gay film festival, or in the Israeli theatre festival either. But if she's in office and she has an agenda, that's her right. You give her the right.
It's not her right according to Israeli legislation, by the way.
It is her right.
Of course,
it is her. Of course,
It's
it's
not
right.
her right.
It's state funding.
It's state funding. It's not a political funding.
But she's not a rubber stamp. She was elected by tens of thousands of Likud members and 1 million members of the Israeli public, elected the Likud to lead the current government. They have an agenda. If the ministers are not allowed to practice their agenda, what are they being elected for? They're not rubber stamps. So I don't think that the Israeli Minister of Culture should affect the content. And the only way to do that is to make sure there isn't an Israeli Minister of Culture.
I think that's a great ending for this item. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
So Minister Ayelet Shaked, the Minister of Justice, is now in a fight with the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, Miriam Naor, and they're fighting about who and how will be chosen of Miriam Naor's successor. Ayelet Shaked, who's how would you say it, a conservative reformist in the Ministry of Justice, wants. Right now, the way the Supreme Court Chief Justice is elected is the person or the judge with the most experience, with the most veteran seniority. Exactly, it's called a seniority system. Is becoming the Chief Justice. According to this, there's a judge, Esther Chayut. She's supposed to in this summer. She's supposed to be the next Chief Justice. Shaked says, at least I want to have a theoretical debate.
Not theoretical. She wants to have
No, but she said, I'm okay with Chayut at this point, but I want to re-examine the system and to see whether that's the best system for Israel, because I believe that it should be the best judge and not necessarily the one with the most seniority. Like I think it's that's how it's chosen they're chosen in the United States, right?
I'm not sure. So I just want to. There's a lot of history here between the minister and the Chief of Justice, and I just want to go back. The committee that chooses the Chief Justice, the judges, is a closed committee, and the majority goes to judges who are currently in power. In other words, the committee itself is built, and it was built by Miriam Naor, or was one I can't remember it.
It's a committee that has always
right, but it was a change by the courts itself. That the courts, the judges, and the Supreme Court judges have the power of veto of who to choose and who not to choose. What Miri Regev has been trying to do over the last
all members have veto power. Basically.
No, I know, but the majority are judges and people within the court system. That's the problem. Or that's the way it's done. I don't like to say problem.
Okay.
What Ayelet Shaked wanted to do was take that power out of their hands and put it into more democratic hands of having the government choose. Now this fight.
No, she doesn't speak about that.
Not this time. Not this time. I'm not talking about this time. This was back when she chose the other two new judges that she wanted in. Now what's happening is she's saying, look, I understand how it's worked till now. I don't think it's the best system. Let's look at this and see if this is the best system. I don't think it's such a terrible thing. The truth of the matter is, we both know there's politics between these two people. It's clear. We're not going to beat around the bush. There's politics. In terms of the demand itself to look into and say, is this? I don't know. I don't know if it's so bad. I don't know if it's so bad. To go to the. I know that these chiefs of justice said we're going to go to the Supreme Court over this. I don't know.
So I'll tell you something. First of all, I think that and I didn't hear Ayelet Shaked trying to change that. I think the Israeli committee. It's a committee that has 3 judges. It has 2 governmental ministers. It has 2 members of Knesset.
The majority,
and it has
judges,
2 representatives of the Israeli bar. It's a very balanced committee. And to Shaked's, she's one of the first ministers who was able to build a coalition with the bar, and therefore, as you said before, she nominated 2 out of 3 like-minded judges, or no, 3 out of 4 in the last round. With any other background, I would say that Ayelet Shaked, I used to be the advisor of the Minister of Justice, Yossi Beilin, who's completely different politics from Ayelet Shaked, and he also wanted to question the seniority system. I think it's a fair debate to have, to at least, the fact that the system is there doesn't mean that it has to stay. But I think with Ayelet Shaked's record on attacking the Supreme Court on so many issues and political issues,
challenging the Supreme Court.
when Yossi Beilin came there, he came with clean hands because the Supreme Court is.
Well, it comes to that time of the show where we're supposed to give a good word. And I got to say, yes, Trump, no, Trump. Yes, he gives us a nice laugh. He gives a good laugh, I think, with all serious the world around. So I think
scary laugh, but yeah.
It's
I'm a bit scared, but yeah.
But it keeps us on our toes. We don't know what he's going to do.
Definitely.
And I guess from here in Tel Aviv, we want to wish everyone out there a very good
Kofifi.
A good Kofifi. And again, we want to challenge anyone out there who's watching the show. Go on the ILTV Facebook and let us know what you think the word means. Wishing you a very good and a happy spiritual Kofifi right here from Tel Aviv, Israel.
Amen.